If you are an international food brand trying to enter the Canadian market or a Canadian importer sourcing from abroad, there are 5 mistakes I consistently see that will either delay your shipment or get it refused entirely at the border. And the difference and distinction between delay and refusal matters. A delay means your shipment is detained while something gets corrected. The cost is time, storage fees, and sometimes your relationship with the Canadian buyer. A refusal means the product does not come in at all. That is a different level of damage entirely. I'm Narissa Allen, 20 years at the Canadian Food Inspection Agency in import coordination and national policy. Let's get into it. So number 1, your foreign establishment is not recognized by the CFIA. This one leads to refusal, not just delay. Canada does not allow food imports from just any facility, especially when we're talking about meat products. Under the Safe Food for Canadians regulations, foreign food establishments must meet requirements and in many cases must be listed or recognized before their products can legally enter. A lot of international food brands assume that if their facility is certified in their home market, that transfers to Canada. It does not. Canadian recognition is a separate process. If your establishment is not on the right list before your shipment arrives, it is not coming in. Number 2, your label does not meet Canadian requirements. This one typically results in detention rather than outright refusal. But do not let that make it sound minor. A detained shipment sits at a bonded warehouse while corrections are arranged. Sometimes it can happen at your warehouse. Storage costs accumulate daily. Your Canadian buyer is waiting, and depending on the nature of the labeling issue, the correction may require the product be relabeled before it can be released, which adds cost, time, and logistical complexity on Canadian soil. Canadian labeling requirements are specific, and they are different from most other markets. Bilingual English and French labeling is mandatory for most products sold nationally. Nutrient declaration formats follow a Canadian standard, not US or EU standard. Allergen declarations follow Canadian nomenclature, which differs from other jurisdictions. And compliant in the United States does not mean compliant in Canada. I have seen this catch experienced importers more than once. Number 3, your product contains an ingredient Canada regulates differently. This one can go either way depending on the ingredient and the degree of restriction. An ingredient that is approved and unrestricted in your home country may be a novel food in Canada, a restricted additive, or outright prohibited. Canada maintains its own lists of permitted food additives, novel food determinations, and prohibited substances. These do not mirror the US FDA lists, the EU approved list, or the Codex Alimentarius. Exactly. If your formulation has not been checked by or checked against Canadian specific requirements before you ship, you may be bringing in a product that cannot be legally sold here, regardless of how compliant it is everywhere else. That is a refusal situation. Number 4, your documentation package is incomplete or incorrect. Missing incorrect documentation is one of the most common causes of delay at the Canadian border, and it is almost entirely avoidable. CFIA and CBSA both require specific documentation. Depends on your product and category, your country of origin, and any applicable trade agreements. Missing a certificate of origin, an export health certificate, a phytosanitary certificate where required, or even a CITES document, as we talked about in a past video, can stop a shipment regardless of how compliant the product can be. And in some cases, missing documentation does not just cause a delay. Depending on the product and the requirement, it can result in refusal. And number 5, your tariff classification is wrong. This one surprises people because it feels like a customs issue rather than a food issue. How your product is classified under Canada's tariff schedule determines which duties apply, which import controls apply, and in some cases, which agency has primary oversight. A misclassification does not just mean you pay the wrong duty rate, it can trigger a referral, a hold, or an inspection that your shipment was not prepared for. And tariff classification for food products is genuinely complex. Similar products can fall into very different categories depending on their composition, their processing method, or their intended use. Getting this wrong can delay your shipment significantly, while classification is reviewed and corrected. 5 mistakes: establishment, recognition, labeling, ingredients, documentation, and tariff classification. Some of these delay your shipment, and some of them end it entirely. And as I covered in the last video, these issues involve multiple government agencies, not just CFIA, which is why knowing who is at the table before you ship is so important. In the next video, I want to walk through what the Safe Food for Canadians regulations actually requires from international food brands in plain language, because it is the foundation underneath most of what I just described. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and if any of these 5 just raised a red flag about your specific product or shipment, the link in the description takes you to a 20-minute regulatory clarity call with me. See you in the next one.